It's October 5th, 2014, and I'm Jacob Kaufman with Nerd on the Street News. Alright, to start off with this week, Microsoft has announced the next version of Windows will not be Windows 9, it will be called Windows 10. For some reason. Could be because Windows 8.1 was apparently the 9th version of Windows, which is just stupid that they called it 8.1 instead of 9. It could be the fact that Windows 95 and Windows 98 started with the number 9, so that could have issues with older programs running on a Windows called Windows 9. Whatever the reason is, Microsoft kind of pulled an Android on this one. You remember Android 2.x was all about phones. We had Gingerbread, we had... I don't remember all of them, but all of the Android 2.x releases were all about phones. And then we had Android 3.0 that was Honeycomb, and that was specifically for tablets. Then Android 4.0 combined the two and kind of discontinued both versions 2 and 3 because it was kind of weird that your version 3 was only for tablets because that meant that you have to still be using version 2, which is probably part of the reason that Android is so badly fragmented today. So Microsoft kind of did that. They didn't really do it with their version numbers, but in actuality they kind of did it with how they were marketing their products. Windows 7 was all about desktop computers, obviously, because that's all Windows was for back then, was desktop computers. Then Windows 8 was all about tablets, and 8.1, even though it added some stuff back for desktops, it was still pretty much all about tablets. And now with Windows 9, Microsoft is combining the best of Windows 7 and 8 into one version, Windows 10. So Microsoft is hoping that this will get rid of the group of gamers out there who are still using Windows 7 because Windows 8 isn't very good for desktop computers. Honestly, I think the Windows 10 looks alright at this point. They've got a few features that I very much welcome. First of all, like I talked about last episode, that start menu with half of it is the classic start menu and then the other half is live tiles, but still within the start menu. I think that's great for point and click stuff because I know that sometimes having big shiny buttons that give you information right there is useful. However, I don't want the whole screen taken up by them, so I think that the new start menu is looking absolutely great. There's also the new virtual desktops feature, which macOS already had and has had for years, and which Linux desktop environments have also had for years. I read on Google Plus that GNOME got virtual desktops in 1999. So I don't know if GNOME was the first one to do it. There might have been other desktop environments that had virtual desktops before GNOME did, but 1999, now it's 2014, so Microsoft's a little bit behind on the whole virtual desktops thing, but, you know, I'm glad they're doing it all the same. Will I be using Windows 10 on any of my computers? No, because it's not free and Linux is free, but I'm starting to hate Windows less and less with every release. Next, talking about Microsoft's search provider, Bing does not rank websites based on encryption. Google does. So if you've got an HTTPS website, Google will put your website above regular HTTP websites. And I guess that's a good thing. Google's allowed to do whatever they want with their search results, obviously. They're a company. They're not bound by any laws saying how they have to sort their search results yet. And HTTPS is good for consumers because HTTPS websites use encryption, which means that your ISP can't really read data that you're sending. The government, other third parties, it makes it more difficult to read data that you're sending. It kind of diminishes the whole security through obscurity thing because if everyone is using HTTPS, then the NSA is going to be more motivated to crack HTTPS. But I'm not a security expert, I don't even know if that's possible or not. So for now, yeah, I'm sticking with HTTPS is great. And like I said, Google ranks HTTPS websites above regular HTTP websites. So if you're just Googling like email providers or if you're Googling online banking, then you'll get more secure websites at the top of your results. Bing does not do that. Bing just uses its regular search techniques to decide what it shows you. So for the first time ever, Bing might actually have different results than Google. Remember a while ago there was that story that pretty much proved that Bing was just taking Google results and reskinning them? I won't go into it too much because you probably don't care at this point, but there was a really interesting, somebody did a study where they just about proved that at that time Bing was Google. Bing was just searching on Google and then pulling in the results. Obviously they don't search one-to-one every time you search, they search. They were just copying Google's database over. And Google wasn't very happy about that, and a lot of people weren't very happy about that. So maybe Bing has stopped doing that, but they're definitely going to have their own database now because they are no longer sorting things the same way as Google is. Speaking of big data, Facebook still plans to study you. They promise to learn and improve from their mistakes. Now, when you sign up for Facebook, you accept that terms and conditions thing that says Facebook could do whatever they want with any of your data. And I'm sure it doesn't say that, but, you know, they can do a whole lot with your data and they can manipulate what you're seeing. And Facebook a while ago, and this was months ago, this was like at the beginning of last summer, Facebook did that study where it showed certain people happy statuses and certain people sad statuses, and then it saw how it affected their mood by their future statuses. Which I know that I would kind of be pissed if they showed me sad statuses trying to make me sad, because I don't want to be sad. So if they're trying to make me sad for scientific study, I have a problem with that. But just the fact that they were doing a study on people's data, that there's no problem with that, because like I said, everyone accepts the terms and conditions and we all read that thing, right? I think it's kind of funny that Facebook says they're going to improve transparency. They did not say they're going to stop these tests. They just said that they're going to have larger panels reviewing their tests before they do them. Not sure how that's going to affect anything. Personally, I find that Facebook's sorting mechanisms suck. They don't show me what I want to see at the top. So what I do is I always make sure that my Facebook feed is set to recent stories, not top stories. If you set it to top stories, you'll just see things that other people are liking. I like to see everything in my news feed, and as far as I know, at this time, if you set your news feed to recent stories, sorted by recently posted, then you will see everything in the order that it was posted. Now, if they start screwing with that, then I'll be angry, because that will mean that the recent stories setting does not actually show recent stories. But again, it's not the fact that they're messing with it, it's the fact that they would have a functionality that doesn't actually work. Now, Facebook has a huge database with a lot of your information in it, and they use that information to advertise. They sell it to advertisers. They don't put it to your face and your name, but they sell your information to advertisers, and advertisers give ads back to you. And just like the fact that I think Facebook's sorting mechanisms suck, I also think that Facebook's advertising sucks. And it's not just me, a lot of people think that. People notice that online, we get so angry at tech companies for capturing our data and using it to display more relevant search results, which really, in theory, shouldn't even harm us, because all we're getting is more relevant advertising. But we get so worked up about how companies, how Google and Microsoft and Facebook and Amazon, how they collect so much data and use it for advertising, and then the advertising is not anywhere near what we want to see. The only time that contextual advertising has ever actually worked for me is when I am looking at a website, either on Amazon or I'm looking at a product somewhere else and I'm looking at the official product website, and then I go to another page with like AdSense ads, and then lo and behold, I see advertising for the product that I just looked at, which I'm not going to click on the ad because I already know about the product and I know how to get to the website because I've already found the website. Sometimes I see advertising for products I've already bought, and that's the last thing I'm going to click on, is an ad for something that I just bought. And whenever it's not for something that I just looked at, whenever I see an ad that's not about what I just looked at on Amazon, or whenever I see an ad that's not about the content management system that I was just researching, then the ads have nothing to do with anything that I care about. Let me load up my Facebook feed. I'm not going to show you it because, you know, personal stuff on Facebook. But, alright, we've got DreamHost web hosting, which I was looking at. We've got Linode web hosting, which I was looking at. I already know about both of those services, and if I want to go to those services, I'm going to do that through my address bar. I'm not going to click on the ad. Because if I click on the ad, it could be a scam. We've got fake ads everywhere, you know, for, like, viruses and things, and obviously I can't get a virus by signing up for a fake web host. And obviously I can't get a virus anyway because I'm on Linux, but, you know, it's stupid. Like, you know, it might be subliminal. Some people subscribe to the theory that if I'm seeing an ad for DreamHost, even though I already knew about DreamHost, that might bring it back to the front of my mind, and that might make me more likely to shop with a DreamHost, even though I was researching it for someone else, not just for me. And, you know, I think that subliminal advertising might actually be an actual thing that actually works, but still, you know, considering you have my age, you have my friends, what my friends are interested in, you know about all the websites I visit, you'd think that you could compile that into information that I could actually use to discover new things. And then after you get done doing that, just let me know and then I'll be happy to complain about it. That's actually kind of funny that online ads are so bad, because online ads are held to higher standards than TV commercials. And I personally don't watch cable anymore. My family gets cable because, you know, my mom has soaps that she watches, and I don't know what my sister watches, but my family, for some reason, is still paying for cable, even though it's a huge waste of money. You can get just as much entertainment for free online. And the reasons that I don't watch cable, there are two main reasons. One of them is we have charter cable, and I absolutely hate charter cable because there are advertisements in the TV guide, which when we had DirecTV, it had a really nice TV guide and there were no advertisements. I wouldn't expect there to be an ad in the TV guide, but there's this banner ad. It's like an ad you would see at the top of a website online. There's a banner ad at the bottom of the TV guide on Charter TV, and considering we're paying a monthly fee for their service, they don't need to be making extra money off of us. They're just squeezing every penny they can by putting that ad there on my TV. But obviously the banner ad takes up very little of my time considering how many commercials there are on TV. And that's the other reason I cannot watch conventional TV anymore, is because I cannot stand all of the commercials. My family has Netflix, and I also watch a lot of YouTube. And YouTube, sometimes there are videos that are really long that have 2 or 3 commercials in them, and that's fine. 2 or 3 commercials is fine. But you go on to cable or public television, and you watch like 6 minutes of a show, and then you see like 6 commercials, and then you watch another like 5 minutes of the show and you see another 5 commercials. It's ridiculous. I can't keep up with what's going on in the show. Like, I can. It's not like a mental barrier that I can't keep up. I have the mental capacity to keep up. I don't have the willpower to, when I could go online and look it up on Hulu. And Hulu's like probably got the most ads out of anything I watch online. Sometimes I'll have to watch 2 or 3 commercials every 5 or 10 minutes on Hulu, and that's really annoying. But, you know, that's still less than what you get on cable. So considering we see so many less ads online, I'm really veering from the actual stories today, talking about my personal stuff, but whatever. Considering how many more commercials we see on TV than we do online, nobody gives a crap about the quality of commercials on TV, and nobody cares about transparency. What this story is about, this is a story on TechCrunch I'm talking about right now. There was this Good Morning America interview that was sponsored, and then at the end of the interview, there was a brought to you by disclaimer. And people got mad that the brought to you by disclaimer was at the end rather than the beginning of the interview. Even though I doubt that they were legally obligated to put that brought to you by disclaimer in there at all. They could have just put it in the credits of the entire episode and that would have been legally acceptable. But of course, some guy got mad about it and the media picked it up. So now it's a big deal. And the article talks about how the FTC has stricter rules for online advertising than they do for TV advertising. So yeah, make of that what you will. Moving on to actual technology, GNOME 3.14 is winning back disillusioned Linux users. That is the title of the article on PC World, and that's not what I'm going to talk about. GNOME 3.14 looks great. I think I'm using 3.10 or 3.12 right now on Ubuntu. I wish I had the newer version of GNOME, because like I said, it looks great. I wish I was using OpenSUSE or something. But I just wanted to say, I noticed 3.14 for GNOME, it's not even that big of a step up from 3.12, but it's getting a lot of media attention. I mean, earlier in the week, I saw this story on the front page of PC World, and PC World is like it's not mainstream news because it's still the technology niche. It's not like seeing this on Fox News or something like that, or what's the other one? The one that starts with a K, I don't know. It's not like seeing this on actual TV news, or it's not even like seeing this on like CNN. Obviously, PC World is for people who care about computers and technology. But still, the fact that GNOME was on the front page of PC World, which is always talking about like mainstream gaming things, mainstream like Intel and AMD stuff and Windows and Microsoft and Apple, the fact that they had a Linux story on the front page really made me happy. And I'm absolutely loving where GNOME is going. Honestly, I liked GNOME 3 from the very beginning. I used to use it on my crappy laptop that I used to have. I think you guys have seen it before. I know a lot of people were not happy with GNOME 3 when it came out, but I used GNOME 3 in Fedora 15 when it first came out on Fedora, which was pretty much when it first came out, period. And yeah, I have liked GNOME 3 since the beginning, and I am absolutely loving it now. Even when I liked the layout of it on my old laptop, it was slow probably because of the laptop. It was glitchy, again, probably because of the laptop, not actually because of GNOME. But now that I'm using it on my main computer, on my you know, beast desktop that you've also seen plenty of, I'm absolutely loving all the smooth animations. I recently discovered you can now get GNOME extensions, and I am loving that too. So yeah, really huge supporter of GNOME here. And yeah, 3.14 really isn't even that big of an update from 3.10 or 3.12. It doesn't add that many new things. It adds like a weather app that I'm not going to use anyway. It adds like a photo app that I'm also not going to use anyway. It adds a lot of new smooth animations, which is great because it's following right behind on the new animations in Windows and Mac OS. So yeah, loving where GNOME is going. You should definitely try it out. Remember WebOS? It was that operating system developed by Palm, and they had the Palm Pixie and the Palm Pre, and those both ran WebOS. It was the first phone operating system to be able to be activated over the air. So back when WebOS was being made by Palm, if you got an iPhone, you had to plug it into iTunes to activate it. But when you got a Palm Pre, you could activate that through the Verizon network. I think it might have been on AT&T too. You could activate it over the air. Like, you could turn it on and it would activate right there, which was a big deal back then. Back then it was only like, I don't know, less than 5 years ago. But still, Palm was making WebOS and everything was nice and good, and it was this small niche competitor. And I would describe it as a niche because it was not a major player in the mobile operating system market. But I thought it was really nice, and I really had my eye on it for a while. And then HP bought Palm, discontinued Palm's phones, made like the HP Pad, touchpad, whatever it was. The HP's one sole tablet that ran WebOS. HP's version of WebOS, not Palm's version. And then they discontinued that tablet along with WebOS altogether. I was kind of pissed. Because, like, Palm had something good going on there, and then HP just rolls in and buys it and screws it all up. But apparently, LG might be working on a WebOS smartwatch. Now, I absolutely hate it when people talk about rumors, because they're rumors. But this is a rumor, and I just got excited, because the fact that we might see WebOS again on an actual device that's actually going to be important. Smartwatches, obviously, I'm not a big supporter of those either. But they're all the rage right now in the media, so I would love to see the return of WebOS. And considering the whole point of WebOS was it syncs everything through the web, you never have to plug it into anything. You hardly really have to sync it at all because it connects. It's connected all the time. That's what WebOS was all about, was being connected all the time and constantly pulling information back and forth. That on a smartwatch makes a lot of sense because smartwatches don't have a lot of storage. You don't want to be syncing them all the time. They don't plug into anything. WebOS would be great on a smartwatch, and LG, apparently what they did was they accidentally published a web page that was advertising WebOS, and then they pulled it down. Of course, there are many initiatives going on at LG at any given moment, and the majority of them never see the light of day. That's what LG told The Verge when they asked. So we might not ever see a WebOS smartwatch, but I think it would be cool. Keep an eye out for that. So we're always talking about Apple and how Apple sues Samsung because Samsung's obviously the one who develops Android, and Samsung's obviously the one at fault when Android has something that Apple deems their property, such as boxes with rounded corners. Well, I didn't know this, but apparently Microsoft is suing Samsung as well. Again, for Android. Why is nobody suing Google? I don't know if they don't want to take it on, or if it's because Android's an open source project, or if they're going on the basis that the things that are violating their patents are OEM specific things or what. But yeah, Microsoft is suing Samsung. Now, to Microsoft's credit, they are also suing HTC, Acer, Barnes & Noble, 25 companies total that Microsoft is suing. Google is probably not one of them. Samsung is now fighting this because, it's complete crap that Microsoft is doing that. I don't even know, just thought I would throw it out there. Microsoft is now suing Samsung as well. Or they have been for the past year, at least. Over a year. This has been going on for a while. Moving on, everything you need to know about iOS 8 keyboard permissions. Now, iOS 8 has custom keyboards. Honestly, I think that the built-in keyboard for iOS is great. Now, that said, I've got an Android phone and I've gotten very used to swiping around on my keyboard, so if I had an iPhone now, I might want to grab Swipe or what's the other one? Swipe or SwiftKey, one of those two. Does SwiftKey let you? I don't think so. So yeah, just Swipe. I would grab Swipe if I was on iOS, but when you download custom keyboards, they ask for permissions. Now in the past, nobody in the Apple universe has had to deal with permissions like we Android people do, because Android, it tells you every single permission that the app is requesting, and obviously you have to accept it every single time, because if you don't, then you can't download the app at all, and you're not going to not use an app because of one permission. I really wish that you could deny certain permissions while still downloading the app. Like if you don't want to give it access to your location, then just give it a fake location. I think CyanogenMod's actually working on something like that, that would be great. And I wish we could do that for like every single like turn on and off specific permissions, but don't tell the app that you're turning them off. Just do it. But my requests aside, yeah, so now we're doing this on Apple devices. When you download keyboards, you can either give them the default isolated permissions or full access to your phone. Full access basically gives them the ability to access the internet, the ability to interact with apps, I think. Basically, it takes them out of the sandbox and just puts them on top of the operating system. And that's a huge security flaw. I would not recommend doing it, because I'm actually really impressed with how secure things are in iOS when you have sandboxed things. If you download a keyboard and you keep it sandboxed, it is impossible for it to keylog. It's impossible for it to keylog because it cannot access the internet. So even if it did keylog, I guess it could, but it could not send the keylogs anywhere. So I am very impressed with that setup. Now, if you enable full access, then keyboards can keylog and they can save everything that you're typing and send them to an outside source. Now, some cloud-based keyboards, which is just a stupid thing to have anyway, some of them don't have word predictions built into their app. Some of them have the word prediction databases stored on external servers on the internet, so they require full access to have certain features like word predictions, or even like swipe to type sometimes. I highly recommend that keyboard developers, which is also an interesting niche, I recommend that keyboard developers build as much of their app functionality into the app itself as possible, because if I'm downloading a third-party keyboard, there is no way I'm giving it internet access. Well, my recording software is still working, so before it crashes, I guess I better sign off. Remember, if you want to submit a story, you can do so at reddit.com/r/nerdonthestreet. Be sure to check out our animated series Displaced at nerdonthestreet.com. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. See ya.